Hi there. I thought there was be just a good opportunity to walk through some of the changes so that it's not quite as quick as the initial parts of the video, which is really just meant to be an overview and a highlight. So you're used to seeing this 3D isometric view, and I really liked the isometric view. I think it has a really strong visual appeal. It has a really specific look and feel. But as you may have noted in the video, there are now different modes. So there's something called internally, I just call it special, or it's a new 3D mode that's non-isometric. And this is it. So it sort of looks face on. It's perspective based, so things get smaller the further you get away. It gives you a chance to sort of feel the 3D um, while not being blocked. So one of the problems is in the isometric view is it's very easy to miss stuff because it gets in the way, because a wall might get in the way, etc. So this sort of combats that issue. So I'm pretty happy with that turned out. Now the big star of the show for me is this flat mode. So flat mode is meant to mimic much of what the original game displayed, but it can't be exactly the same. And that's because the original game, let's go over here, for example, and look at this sign. So as we look at this sign, in the original game, you would have a tile, a sign tile, and the tile actually had the grass in the tile itself. Whereas here, I'm putting grass underneath, and then I'm putting a sign on top of that. So it ended up being a ton of work to be able to make that work. So I'm going to go up here, and I just want you to notice too, so some things still maintain a certain amount of three dimensions. So if I look at the grandfather clock, the table here, the kegs and barrels, the stoves. So this was actually a really interesting problem to solve, because what I found is that they just didn't look good. It looked a bit odd, having them completely flat. Like if you looked at that barrel, I either had to go to look at just the top of the barrel, in which case it just looked like a brown circle, or I had to look at the side. And even then, some of the shadows and some of the lighting didn't quite work. So yeah, so this is classic mode. I got a lot of requests. I have free mode on right now, so I can walk through whatever I want, just in case you're wondering what's going on. But let's just switch back. It might teleport me. Oh, it didn't. Okay. And you can see there, right, again, some lovely perspectives that you get with this mode. Another great thing is, the nighttime, which I'm still absolutely in love with, continues to work outstanding even in the flat mode, which is distinctly different than the original game, of course, because in the original game, it would simply just not draw the outside bits, whereas this is a softer transition. Okay, I think next I'm going to show you, so something you saw in the video, which you might have gone, oh my goodness, that's a little confusing, was dungeons. Now, the work that was done on this iteration for dungeons was primarily around loading them in, understanding the data, understanding, if this bit's this, then is that a trap chest? Is this a good fountain or a bad fountain? All that kind of stuff. So that's what you're seeing here. So let's just go to deceit 40 because it's a fairly basic one. And this is just my debug menu. So you can go to the room itself, or you can go to where it is in the world. And I'm going to switch perspectives. There we go. You'll notice that a lot of the tiles don't make sense, and that's okay. They're meant to represent something. So the marsh or the swamp will represent a particular kind of tile. Obviously, doors, the ladders. If you're in a cave, then it's not really a ladder. It could be it could be like a tunnel up or down, etc. But the important part is that the data is loading. I'm able to move in it. I haven't exactly decided how I'm going to handle that. If I'm just going to take the original one-to-one, which doesn't exactly match the aesthetic of what I'm going for, but not doing that means a lot of redrawing. So I certainly have some decisions to make there. But anyway, yeah. So it loads all of them. Let's see. Let's just go to a random one. See if I crash it or not. Oh, I didn't. Okay. This one has some sort of water. I'm gonna guess maybe a fountain is probably. I believe these stony walls are hidden walls. So if you search them, yeah. And another interesting fact about dungeons is you'll notice that it's very small, and that's because it repeats. So um, if this was working all the way, I would go here, I would move over, and I would end up on the far side here. So anyway, so that's dungeons. I still have quite a long way to go there, but it was a big milestone for me. They were loosely documented and a little hard to get around. So yeah. All right. So something else I wanted to show, and I apologize for the teleport. My Unity development just crashed, so I had to give it a restart. I also showed in the video that there was some increased details. So, for example, if you take a look at the avatar right now, you'll notice that he's got some more jaggedy corners, uh, certainly more detail. I wouldn't say he's perfect yet, but basically I doubled the available resolution for each of these. You can see the merchant here is a perfect example of what they were looking like, right? So it was a 16 by 16 blocky, and now it's a 32 by 32. Now, sometimes I found that increasing the resolution didn't give us anything. It didn't look any better. And so there's lots of things that don't. But you could see here on the table, maybe, or the chair, I have some sharper edges. On the sign here, I have some more roundness and some sharper corners, or softer corners, which is quite lovely. As well, I spent a ton of time on the trees, and the trees were one of the reasons that I actually sort of began this because I really wanted the shadows to make more of an impact uh, than they were. So I still have hundreds of more sprites to go through, especially primarily the monster and NPC sprites. But it you could spend all day, every day, working on them if you didn't eventually find a time to stop and to move on and try other stuff.